You must go before fighting begins. I am sorry. War has begun.
Chico Leo here with Fan Bros, and I am here with the producer and director of the upcoming War for the Planet of the Apes film. And you guys were both involved, actually, with the most recent one, which was sort of the rise of Caesar and his story, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Is it safe to say that this will be the end of the trilogy about Caesar, his story, or?
We don't know that that's true. I mean, we don't see it as the end of this series, for
sure.
sure.
And we don't see it as a trilogy either. We always wanted to explore this character and these ape characters that we started in Rise for as long as we can, that they're telling real stories about them.
I mean, I think what I would say is that what this one does is it cements Caesar's position as the seminal figure in ape history. He becomes kind of like our ape Moses. He's like a big mythic character, and it's the events in this war and what he does in this war that sort of take him from, the first film he sort of is a no one who becomes a revolutionary, and in the second film he has to become a leader really in difficult times, and he's trying to sort of maintain the peace, and when that doesn't go right, then in this film it's really about how the war creates the legend.
Right, and so this in this sort of wonderful job that you guys have done reimagining the 1970s Planet of the Apes, there's all kinds of time travel and things like that. Are we going to get any of that in coming up or in War of the Planet of the Apes, or is there plan?
Not in War, definitely not in terms of.
I don't think the time travel stuff. Rick and Amanda. It's interesting because the time travel stuff from the original, the astronauts have no idea that they're returning to Earth, and that is sort of the great Rod Serling twist of that he came up with for the script at the end with the Statue of Liberty. That's kind of the mind blower. When Rick and Amanda created their story, they entered through a new way, and they used science really to do it. So the apes, literally in Planet of the Apes, in the first film, they evolved to that place, and here they're given a boost by science, and so it's another way of entering the universe, but we're not literally replaying that narrative.
We're giant fans of those movies, and we love to go back and watch them, but our movies are about, as Matt said, what characters are dealing with today and the issues that we're dealing with today, and it at some point is going to link up to it, but the journey there is going to be our own journey.
And I have to say, one of the really wonderful things about Dawn, and what was in fact the exploration of the ape society, half of the movie is apes communicating, with subtitles. Absolutely. And so, is there going to be more of that, or?
For sure. I mean, and actually, this film even more than Dawn sort of has two parts to the story. There's the human survivor story, and then there are the ape story, and really the story between Caesar and Koba and the ape community. Here, we still have a really, really strong human story. Woody Harrelson's amazing in the movie, but the story is told really exclusively from the apes' point of view. So you encounter the humans there are no scenes where it's like, hey, let's cut to the humans and see what they're up to. You discover them and encounter them through the apes. So it's very, very ape-centric. It's really cool.
And the ape evolution, it's 2 years after Dawn, so the ape evolution has been 2 more years. So we've been very careful to watch that evolution with specificity. We didn't want to jump too far ahead. With linguistic skills that they didn't have.
But there's some more speech, and Caesar has developed and evolved. Yeah, it's cool.
Evolve.
That actually was going to be my next question, which was I was going to say, do we even get more of the development, not just the speech, but the whole ape society?
Sure. I mean, but they're in a different. See, what's interesting is that between Rise and Dawn, they had the time and they had the space to create their own civilization. This is now a war-torn world, and so it's really about how they've adapted to their wartime situation. So there's some pretty cool reveals about what they're doing to survive.
But when we pick up with them, they're in the middle of a war. So as Matt said, we've seen some improvements and some changes along the way, and I think the journey is really fun. We take them for the Muir Woods, and we go into places outside of San Francisco. So I think the audience is ready for that exploration, and along the way we see some new things. But again, they're in the middle of a conflict from the get-go.
And in the ape society, in the original films, there was this unbreakable edict that ape must not kill ape, and you guys explored that. And I'm wondering, is that, it's a war for the planet of the apes? Is the war between the humans and the apes, or is there also a war among the apes?
Well, the way that we would describe it is that there's a war between humans and the apes, but there's also a war, and in particular, inside the apes, but in particular in Caesar. It's really a war for his soul, because that whole thing where he put down this edict, this sort of law, this commandment about that ape shall not kill ape, and then he himself had to break it in killing really his brother in Koba, he is devastated and haunted by that. And it's a prime driver, actually, in this story. And then what ends up happening is, one of the things he could never anticipate was why it was that Koba couldn't coexist, because he didn't quite understand what it was like to be tortured by humans the way that Koba was. Well, he comes to understand that in this, and so it actually ends up breaking him in a way that he starts to lose empathy for humans, and it becomes part of the struggle. This is, for lack of a better way of describing it, can he hold on to his humanity is one of the big central questions of the story.
I mean, that's really interesting because, Koba was the villain, at least in the ape society, not getting into the human characters. Do you have... Is there an analog to that in this movie, that where Caesar is having sort of people warring, he has the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other? Are there ape characters?
Yeah, a little bit, absolutely. That's a good way of describing it. Yeah, that's true.
Very perceptive.
Did you write the script?
Yeah, Caesar's
I'll give you my card and we can talk.
Cool, great.
Caesar's wrestling with all this. I think along the way, every character has a point of view about what's happening, and Caesar's, of course, right in the crosshairs, in the intersection of all of that.
Yeah.
The crown is heavy, and whether you're human or ape, but yeah, absolutely, yes. Well, we could talk, but yeah, oh, absolutely. And I'm really looking forward to it on a personal level, and I think a lot of people are, and I love what you guys did, with both of the previous and specifically the most recent one. Absolutely. So, all right, great. Well, thank you. This is Chico from Fambros, and if you guys want to introduce yourselves as the Matt Reeves.
I'm Matt Reeves.
I'm Dylan Clark.
Okay. And this is Fambros.